I awakened the most useless F-rank ability in history. Refresh. It lets me target non-living objects within a 1-meter radius and reset them to their original state. But in practice, I'd refresh a book and it was still just a book. Refresh a towel and it stayed a towel. So 3 months into the zombie apocalypse, my girlfriend grabbed the last half-pack of crackers, got in another guy's car without looking back, and tossed an empty noodle cup at my feet before leaving, like I was some stray dog. Don't blame me, babe. Your ability is just too useless. If I stay with you, I'll starve to death. In despair, I stared at that empty cup, and a crazy idea suddenly hit me. Refresh. The rich smell of braised beef suddenly exploded in the air, and beneath the torn packaging sat neatly stacked noodles and 3 seasoning packets. I froze. So my ability wasn't useless after all. We'd all just misunderstood it. This so-called reset to initial state didn't mean going back to how it was a second ago, but to its factory fresh condition, an empty noodle cup. Its initial state was a brand new, unopened cup of noodles. My heart pounded like a drum in my chest, not from fear, but from pure exhilaration. I looked around this ransacked convenience store. The shelves were littered with torn open snack bags, empty drink bottles, trash to everyone else. But to me now, this was a bottomless treasure trove. I didn't rush to boil water for the noodles. In the apocalypse, the smell of food could draw unwanted attention. I carefully climbed to the storage room on the 2nd floor and barricaded the door with heavy shelves. Only after making sure it was safe did I start my experiment. I put the empty cup on the floor and thought refresh in my head. The cup in front of me rippled almost imperceptibly, and instantly a brand new cup of noodles appeared. Again, I kept repeating it, barely containing my excitement. 10 minutes later, I'd piled up a small mountain of 60 instant noodle cups. My ability had a 10-second cooldown, meaning I could have unlimited noodles. Then I looked at an empty water bottle nearby. Refresh. Instantly, a 500 milliliters bottle of purified water appeared. I looked at the first aid kit on the ground, now just an empty shell. Refresh. A brand new first aid kit appeared in my hands. My breathing grew rapid. Food, water, medicine, the most precious resources in the apocalypse, were now inexhaustible for me. Lu Ruyan, didn't you say my ability was worthless? Just wait. One day you'll come begging on your knees, begging me for scraps. For the next 3 days, I locked myself in the warehouse. The mountain of empty packaging in the warehouse became my raw materials. Chips, crackers, chocolate, everything edible. I refreshed them into several large crates. Drinks and bottled water filled half the corner. Most importantly, I found an empty gas canister, paired with a portable camping stove from the store. I could finally have a hot meal. After closing all the warehouse windows, I boiled a pot of water, tore open 3 seasoning packets, and carefully placed the noodle cake inside. When that long-lost aroma filled my nose, I couldn't hold back my tears. I cried as I wolfed it down. Since the apocalypse began, this was the fullest, safest meal I'd eaten. After eating my fill, my mind began to clear. Staying hidden here wasn't a solution. This convenience store would be overrun by zombies eventually, or discovered by other survivors. I had to find a safer base. Besides, I needed weapons. Food and water alone, in this wasteland, would only make me a lamb to the slaughter. I packed all the supplies into 2 massive hiking backpacks. Then I opened the door a crack and checked the world outside. A few zombies wandered aimlessly down the street. I took a deep breath. I gripped the fruit knife I'd refreshed, now sharp as new. Time to go. Getting out was tense but uneventful. I used the maze of back alleys to avoid most of the zombies. When I ran into stragglers, I'd throw a refreshed full can of Coke as hard as I could. While it staggered, I'd finish it off with the knife. My target was Blue Bay Residences, out west. It was a famous upscale neighborhood with serious security. The walls were high and thick. They'd hold for a while, at least early on. More importantly, my parents' house was there. I was at school when the apocalypse hit and lost contact with my parents. Finding them was my only goal now. But the journey to Blue Bay was tougher than I expected. The city was completely paralyzed. Abandoned vehicles clogged every main road. I saw too many tragedies along the way. Violent fights broke out over supplies. That is when I truly realized Liu Yanyan's betrayal was perhaps just in this cruel world the most insignificant part. Here, humanity had already collapsed. By dusk on the 3rd day, I finally reached the outskirts of Blue Bay. The tall iron gates were shut tight. I could see guards on the walls. As expected, it had become a survivor stronghold. I hid nearby and watched for a long time. To enter the compound, I'd have to pass their inspection. So, I packed my bag, stashed most of my supplies in a hidden sewer, keeping only 2 bottles of water and a pack of crackers, pretending to be an ordinary refugee, and walked toward the gate. Stop, who goes there? A sharp voice rang out from the wall. I raised my hands and looked up, my face dirty with dust and grime. I'm a resident here. My name is Lin Fan. I live in Building 17. Building 17, Lin Fan, verify. The man above went quiet for a moment, seemingly checking over the radio. A moment later, the gate cracked open. A man holding a steel pipe, looking wary, stepped out. ID, he said curtly. I pulled the ID I'd prepared from my pocket and handed it over. He checked it, then looked me up and down. Just you? Where are your supplies? I lowered my head at his words, my voice carrying just the right tremor of fear. I was robbed on the way. This is all I have left. The man frowned. He seemed skeptical, but faced with my frail frame and pitiful appearance, he finally let his guard down. Come in, remember the rules. All newcomers must hand over half their supplies for redistribution. My heart sank at his words. Luckily, I'd come prepared, so I nodded obediently, handing over a bottle of water and half a pack of crackers. The man took them. A flicker of disdain crossed his eyes, but he still waved his hand and let me pass. Once inside the complex, the scene let me breathe easier. The atmosphere remained tense, but at least there was order. People were patrolling, others were reinforcing the defenses. There were also women and children gathered in the community center. It was like an island in the apocalypse, temporarily cut off from the carnage outside. An older woman at registration told me that a man called Brother Bao now ran things. He used to be the property manager here. After the apocalypse hit, he awakened earth element powers and organized a guard to protect everyone. All residents received daily rations based on contribution points. To earn more, you had to join the patrol or logistics teams. I claimed poor health and didn't join any team for now. My priority was finding my parents. With an anxious heart, I ran to my doorstep, only to find the security door forced open and the inside ransacked. Seeing this, my heart plummeted. I rushed inside, frantically calling for Mom and Dad, but only deathly silence answered. A thin layer of dust covered the living room table, showing they'd been gone for days. There were signs of struggle on the floor, but no blood. A small mercy, perhaps. I collapsed onto the floor. Unprecedented confusion and fear gripped me. I had no idea where to search. As I sat there, dazed, footsteps approached outside. A leering voice rang out. Well, looks like we missed one. I jerked my head up to find two men blocking the doorway. The one in front had a shaved head, eyeing me with unmistakable malice. I recognized him. He was Scorpion, a small-time lieutenant under Brother Bao. Scorpion licked his lips, his gaze raking over me like I was fresh meat on the chopping block. Your household head owed Brother Bao quite a few contribution points the other day. They got kicked out. This place is ours now. My eyes narrowed. What did you do to my parents? Just kicked them out. That is what happens to the useless in the apocalypse. But you seem capable enough. If you're willing to stick around and run errands for us, handle a few things, we might consider letting you scrape by here. I've been so naive, thinking this place was a safe haven. Turns out, it is the same law of the jungle. As they drew closer, my hand slipped quietly toward the side pocket of my pack. Inside lay a fruit knife I'd sharpened to a gleaming edge. But just as I braced to fight for my life, a cold female voice cut through from the doorway. Stop. Scorpion and his men froze mid-step. When they saw who it was, their grins stiffened instantly, replaced by fawning deference. The woman in the doorway wore black combat gear. She carried a Tang Dao in her hand, its blade still streaked with dark red stains. Several equally formidable team members followed behind her. I knew her. This was Shen Ling, captain of Blade, the strongest combat squad in the guard, rumored to have awakened a rare metal-type ability. Her strength was unfathomable. Brother Leopard's most trusted weapon. Shen Ling ignored Scorpion, her eyes settling on me as she asked flatly, "What is going on?" I seized the lifeline and spoke urgently. "They're trying to bully me." Scorpion's face shifted as he rushed to explain. "Captain Shen, don't listen to his nonsense. His parents owed contribution points. We're just here to collect the property. Does collecting property require two of you and blocking the door?" Her voice wasn't loud, yet carried absolute authority. "Get out now." Scorpion fled as if granted amnesty, dragging his men out in a panic. Once the danger passed, my tensed body went slack, and I nearly collapsed. Shen Ling studied me, her brow furrowing slightly. "Stay away from that crowd from now on." She clearly didn't want to get involved further. She turned to leave. I quickly called out to stop her. "Captain Shen, do you know where they took my parents?" "They're Lin Jianguo and Wang Shumei." Shen Lin thought for a moment, then seemed to remember. Brother Bao sent everyone without supernatural abilities, along with the elderly and disabled who couldn't do heavy labor, to the abandoned factory outside the North Gate, calling it letting nature take its course. My heart sank. An abandoned factory like that. No food, no protection.